Once upon a time, a girl named Felicity and a boy named Peter bought an abandoned 1830s farmhouse, and at long last she's being painted. This is something we've been looking forward to pretty much since we bought her, and I'm excited to say that she looks just as good as we expected. So we're having her redone in white, which makes sense. And then I know the lighting is kind of weird because of the time of day, but the green around the windows and the pillars on the porch is the accent color. So let me take you down and we'll take an up close look. I love, love, love that white look with the green paint. So this is the porch coming in from the kind of the middle where you go out to the road. You just look down and there's white ceiling, white railings, and then the floor will be the last thing that's done that's white. And then you have the green accents here and around the windows and around the doors and along the bottoms and stuff, the framing. God, it's beautiful. I can't get over just how lovely that green looks. I know on camera it looks very, very dark. I'm hoping the camera is picking up the green appropriately. I'll walk around to the side with the sun on it in a minute. They've also taken away the stove and the fridge, which if you remember from a previous video had been hauled out of the kitchen but was still here, so they're now completely gone. And it looks like, I mean, there's definitely more painting to do. You can see that they maybe took the storm window off after they did the first coat, which is fine. They'll just come back and touch that up. And of course, we'll be getting new windows and doors in here. But yeah, this is... And seeing the railings painted, these were all raw wood the last time we were here. So seeing them painted white looks awesome. Here's a shot in the daylight so you can see that green and white. And here's how it looks with the house. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. You can tell that some of the paint needs a second coat, which is not surprising given the shape that the wood was in. Oh, this is so exciting. She's being painted. Here she is from the south side. This is the side where it's easiest to see because the entire second floor has been done, but they have done the least amount of work on the porch on this side. So it's a little bit of hit or miss, but yes, she's getting painted. She's looking lovely. The only thing that we're not thrilled about, and I think this is probably our fault, I think we forgot to specify, they have also painted white the brick, the flagstone foundation, which we had actually not wanted painted. I think it looks, I'm not quite sure how to describe it, actually. I don't think it looks nice. I preferred the natural look of the stone that was underneath there, but as I said, I think that's our fault. I think we didn't specify not to paint it, and they were doing a thorough job. They've been working on the rest of the house, so not much progress on the backside yet. But I believe the intention is to come back to this tomorrow. Our crew had some errands and family commitments and stuff today that they weren't able to be out here for. And the painting will continue, which is great because we actually have nice weather for the next week or so, which means there'll be plenty of time for the paint to dry. One of the things that drew us to this house was the ability to love it and restore it back to a living and working house. And I know it's superficial, but honestly, the paint work, after getting the roof put on and the yard cleared, the paint work is giving me a vision, a real life vision of what she'll look like going forward, as opposed to just something I can see in my head. And I have to tell you guys, I'm really looking forward to pulling in here. And yes, this is our nice white house with the beautiful green trim and the nice wraparound porch. Every meter that gets painted, every foot that gets painted, every step forward on the outside of the house just makes me think more and more that we'll actually be able to live here and bring life to her and give her the presentation that she should have had for a long time. We've been asking people as we've been out and about in the community what they remember about the house, and we had assumed that this was a family house that was abandoned at some point, but we're actually revising that assumption. A number of people have told us that it was rented out. One winery owner up the road said that their first wine tasting room manager rented this house, and that was in the 80s or 90s. We were told when we were here in May that one of the servers at a nearby cafe, their grandmother rented this house. We were told by a couple of other people that they know someone who has rented this house in the past. And so instead of it being a family home, as we had assumed it was up until the last 8 years or so, I'm thinking this was maybe, it was a family home in the sense that the family owned it for decades, but I'm not sure actually when somebody was last living here as a family. It seems like it's maybe been a number of decades, which is different than what we had originally thought. So more to come on that. I have reached out to a couple different places that might do some architectural historian work. That was just on Monday, so I haven't heard back yet. So I am starting in a little bits of free time to do a little bit more research on the house, because I know a lot of you had asked about that and keep asking about that. I am going to talk to the Historical Society. We are at some point going to go look at the county records. We just haven't had a chance yet, but I'm starting to find that time.
Speaking of little bits of free time, the other project that I found time to work on this week is to look up some basic information on the free plates that we got from our neighbors who are moving a couple of weeks ago. And I want to share some of that information with you now. It turns out you can go down a really deep rabbit hole on some of these china patterns, and I am not that interested. I picked up the plates because I like the way they look, and I just really wanted to know how old they are and who made them and where they came from. So let's get into that. So when I was looking up information about these plates, I went about it a couple of different ways. The first way was to Google the stamp on the back of the plate, and that actually was not very efficient. So then I remember somebody saying you could just post an image in Google and it would pop up some search results. So that's what I am going to try first. I have never done this before, so I actually had to Google how to do this. So if you go to google.com, I never even noticed it before, but there's this little picture icon here, and you can search by a picture you already have. So I'm going to pull up this one. So this is really cool, right? Because it pops up here and then it shows you related searches on the right-hand side. This actually is a great example because the back of this, of all the plates that I have, the back of this one does not bear a specific company name. It is made in Japan, and it says it's part of Chokin, C-H-O-K-I-N, the art of Chokin plate. It explains that Chokin is an art form that involves silver and gold inlay and was originally used on samurai wear. And if you Google the art of Chokin, you get a lot about the art of Chokin, but nothing about who specifically in Japan made the plates, like a company or an artist name or anything like that. I'm not sure if you can see on the picture, it's really faint, but there are 3 marks here on my plate that are either kanji or hieroglyph, something, right? I'm hoping that Peter can tell me. Peter is a linguist. I'm hoping he can maybe do some research on those and tell me if those are a maker's mark or something like that. So all I know is that this was made in Japan. I don't even know like a date range because this art of Chokin stuff is so, like, there's no information about it. I can tell you that this particular marbling pattern on this plate is unusual. If you look at a lot of the search results, this hummingbird and daffodil motif shows up a lot, but this marbling around it, you'll notice that only 2 of the examples up here show that. The next one is this one, which is the white one with this edging on it. This one was very easy because it has a maker's mark on the back, and the maker's mark is Crooksville China Company, and then the number 44, made in the USA. So if you Google Crooksville China Company, it immediately comes up. There's a long article here, but the important thing is that it was based out of Crooksville, Ohio, and they made dinnerware, kitchenware, and specialties from 1902 to 1958. And as far as I can tell from reading the rest of this article, they were not bought out, they simply closed down. So the plate I'm holding in my hand is no older than 1958. I wasn't able to find anything in a quick Google search about the number 44 to figure out when exactly this line of plates was made, but that's okay. So the next one is this yellow one, and this one is really weird because it is the Royal Sealy China Japan is what it says on the back. I could find very little about it. It says the Royal Sealy Japanese was an importing company between 1950 and 1970, and it doesn't really talk about who made them in Japan, and I wasn't able to find out any information about the specific line of plates, just that they are from 1950 and 1970 and made in Japan. So we have 2 plates that are made in Japan, 1 plate that is made in Ohio. So that brings us to the green plates, which are the plates that started the whole picking up of plates in the first place. So this is the smaller of the green plates, and the stamp on the back is a lion above a crown enclosed in a banner. The top of the banner says Semi-Royal Porcelain. The bottom says Wedgwood, England and Co. And then underneath that mark, it says Raleigh in all capital letters. So this is definitely a Wedgwood plate. As you can imagine, if you have heard of Wedgwood, there is a lot of information available about Wedgwood. I was trying specifically to figure out when this pattern was made. This is definitely the right pattern. I think it's a little bit bigger of a plate, but what I was interested here is that it says circa 1890. There are a number of ways to date Wedgwood pottery. Apparently the older ones from the 1880s or 1860s had codes on the back, and the codes could be deciphered. This one does not have a code, it just says Raleigh. And so this was the quick and dirty search to find when it was produced. So that's pretty cool. This is the bigger plate, and the back of this just has a text stamp on it. No fancy logo, and it says Catham, J&G Meakin, Hanley, England. And then elsewhere on the bottom, there's a number 10 pressed into it. When I looked up the company, J&G Meakin, it's the only one that had a Wikipedia article, well, other than Wedgwood, but it was the only one whose Wikipedia article was helpful. And J&G Meakin was around a lot in the 19th century, so that's 1800s. They made a lot of cheap china, and it was sold in England and then also exported to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and United States. The part of this that's most important for me, it says from around 1970, designs included these patterns. The newer wares can be distinguished by backstamp markings such as permanent colors, everlasting color, or dishwasher proof. My plates do not have any of those backstamp markings. So I'm assuming from that these plates are older than 1970. How much older than 1970? I don't know. The company was founded in 1851, so that's a 120-year span to go over. But that's okay. As again, I'm not really interested in going super deep into the history of these, although if any of these tickle your fancy, you're welcome to keep going super deep. I honestly was assuming most of these were going to be from the 70s and 80s. I had no idea that these were so vintage or that they were worth anything really to anyone. So this has been a really fun exploration into 2 pieces from Japan, 1 piece from Ohio, and 2 pieces from England. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you enjoyed all of the fun painting adventures and enjoyed the small detour down China Pattern History Lane. When I see you next time, I am very much looking forward to giving you an update on the painting progress. It might even be done, depending on how quickly they're able to finish the work. So thank you as always for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you all, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.